Welcome to Leaders and Learners. My name is Tanya McKenzie, and you can find me at the intersection of public relations and leadership. Join us as we talk to organizational leaders, elected officials, experts, authors, artists, and personalities, sharing their stories, talking about how they got to where they are and how they continue to learn and lead the way. So without further ado, let's get into it. Greetings, good people. Welcome back to another episode of Leaders and Learners, where we all know that the best leaders are lifetime learners. I have my two permanent co-hosts on for the South Bay edition today, Miriam and Paul.
Hello.
Say hi to the people.
Nice to see everyone. How you doing?
So we're going to get right into it today because we know that our guest has a lot going on. She stays busy. She stays on the grind for the city. Let's go ahead and welcome our amazing councilwoman, and we only have one. Paige, how you doing?
I'm good. A little tired, but I'm good.
A little tired. Why don't you let us know why you are a little tired and what's been going on in Paige's world?
Oh, yes. Well, we had a meeting last night. It ended around midnight. Sometimes they go pretty late. So that is why I'm a little tired today.
Awesome. So I heard that you've been pretty busy doing some things for the city, but I want you to let the people know that haven't had a chance, because obviously there's a lot of people that still haven't had the chance to get to know you a little bit. Why don't you let the people know a little bit about you, what district you represent, and why you're doing this? Why would you give up your time to be up and in the middle of the night with people that you don't live with?
Yeah. So my name is Paige Kaluderovic. The name is tricky. I've been telling people to replace the D with a J. Kaluderovic. That's the first bit. I'm a mom of two daughters. They go to Washington Elementary here in Redondo Beach. And I moved here in 2021. So I am what would be considered a new resident here in the South Bay. But I love it. This is a great place to raise a family, and I'm happy to be here. Actually, and how I got here, I am a postpartum doula. And so that was what I was doing before I started being a council person. But what got me in the seat that I'm in now is advocacy. I wanted a crossing guard where there wasn't one, and started paying attention to what was happening in politics here in Redondo Beach. And it wasn't happening. So I threw my name in the hat for a council seat, and I got it. And so now I'm here.
I love it. Questions, Paul?
Welcome, everybody. It's nice to see you. Late night last night, Councilwoman. Thank you for your efforts for what transpired. It was a rather exciting night and an astounding night because I guess the speed at which they made a decision that really will have a big impact on the city. And I'm sure we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yes. So just to recap, last night, we appointed a new mayor to fill the remaining about 13 months of Mayor Bill Brand's term. And the council voted to appoint Jim Light to take that seat. And I think it was a quick decision. And I would have preferred to have more time to get feedback, but that's what the council decided.
Hey, Paige, what is it like to be the only woman sitting up there on the dais every day? Like, talk to us about that a little bit.
You know, so I only grew up with a brother, so I typically don't take that into account when I'm in a room. But I will tell you, since I've been a council person, I have made myself aware of it, because I am frequently in a room that is all men, whether that's attorneys, staff, council people, mayor. I am the only woman in the room. And that's actually another motivation for me to do this. I was not looking to be a council person, but I have two daughters, and I want this to be a tangible, real option for them. So I'm there. I'm in the room.
I love hearing that. Also, not everyone on the council is a parent. So how does that kind of play into the decisions that you make and how you move forward as a leader in the city?
You know, there are times that, I mean, I think anyone can get frustrated in this position. And what motivates me is that I know that I represent families with young kids in this community. So I get up and, I'm at those meetings till midnight or beyond. And I know that I get to be the voice for those young families with kids in our schools. So, typically these positions are filled by older men. And that's not representative of all of our community.
Yeah.
So I'm there.
Appreciate that. So you're working on some stuff, though. I think that's what I was trying to creep up to. You're working on a few things that are youth centered and mental health centered. Can you talk to us about that? Because I am excited.
Yes. So, well, first I'd like to say that I think the more people that get involved, the better, the healthier government and community we have. And so for me, getting youth involved is the best way to do that. So some of my projects that I've been working on is next week, I believe it's next week, we'll be discussing incorporating youth to lead our Pledge of Allegiance in the council. And we'll work out the logistics of that. It might be some kind of rotation between the schools, but I would love to have them in the room. It also grounds us in what we're there for. So we need them there. The other thing I'm working on is filling our youth commission. We have a youth commission for the city, which is meant to advise the council on how to create a better city for our youth. This commission's been vacant for 2 years. And it stopped operating because of a lack of quorum, and it hasn't been filled since. So I have been at the high school for Are You Ready for the incoming freshmen to inform them of this program. What's also unique about it this year is that the school district will offer a seal of civic engagement on their diploma. I mean, that looks great on a college application. So let's see what else. I'll be at Career Day for RUHS next week. And then on to mobile mental health. This is a big topic in our community, right? Mental health it's everywhere. It's with our homeless population, which is what we hear about most. We have Alcove here, which is amazing. It serves our younger population, ages 12 to 25. But there's a bigger component that isn't being tapped into. Our youth, our housed people. I've been working with our fire department, our police department, city attorneys, public works. Everybody's been involved in creating this extra branch of public safety because it's a public safety issue. These people can become in a crisis state. They end up at a emergency room, whether that's a youth or anyone, and they're not getting the treatment that they need at these urgent cares or emergency rooms. So having this specific and intentional service for them will actually decrease those transfers to emergency rooms. They call them the 5150 holds, where you go involuntary transport to these places. And I think it's something that we really need in our community.
I would like to say that that Councilwoman Kaluderovic, she represents an awakening that is happening in North Redondo. The last election Redondo's politics have been so focused on the South for so long that elections got to be almost predictable. And Paige came out and really brought a fresh face to the whole discourse, and it was really refreshing. And it was wonderful that the constituents of District 3 showed up to the polls and really championed her. She won heartily or handily, I should say, and it's great. And we'll talk about what happened last night and how that reflects on this awakening in North Redondo, and really what happened last night isn't in line with what's going on in North Redondo.
What are your thoughts about that, Paige?
I completely hear that side of it. I do, some of the comments that were made last night in picking qualities in a leader for our mayor reverberated with me. And a unifier, I think, is important. But that unifier has to understand all, the different sides of the constituency that they're representing. So what was decided last night seems like it wasn't, they didn't get all the people in the room to have their voices heard.
And there was one unexpected moment when the District 5 and District 4 councilmen were suggesting that possibly they would appoint a woman named Julie Young, who had been volunteered for a committee seat in the city. She had some experience, and she was definitely a North Redondo resident. I thought that was just an incredible opportunity that was really lost because we've had the same thing for so long, and it was fleeting to see it slip away. It was really, really disappointing. Just for the mere fact to have more women on the council would just be great, or a female mayor would bring a whole new perspective to things.
And I would argue,
then also somebody from North Redondo, because the person that sits as mayor, it's not a ceremonial seat. It has a lot of influence on the direction of the city. They definitely steer the boat. And once again, the boat is being steered by South Redondo residents that don't care about North Redondo.
Listen, I would love to see more women on the council. I would love, so I think a measure of success for me would be that there's more women and there's younger individuals leading as well. So.
Oh, I heard you. I love it.
Just having diversity is important, right? Yeah. So having various age groups, various genders, various interests, right? Me listening last night, it was very hyper focused on one special interest and nothing else. And there was a gentleman that spoke yesterday, and I loved everything that he had to say. I wish I remembered his name off the top of my head. But he really made the point to say, hey, this is like, all I'm hearing about is like 2 to 4 interests when really we have 61 in the city. So It would be nice to see more of a diverse group. I mean, Redondo is diverse, and it just seems, unfortunate that we had a missed opportunity last night.
Hey, Paige, I want to get back to the project that you're working on. And
Sure.
For most people that don't understand, with your idea, 1, how did you come up with it? And 2, what is the process for getting something like that actually put into action? Because we talk about a lot of things around here, but actually making it come to fruition is a whole different process. It's not just, I want to do this thing and you go do it. So talk us through what that has looked like from idea to implementation and actualization.
Yes. And I will say, this isn't my fresh idea. This has been done other places. And actually that's where, it came to me. I was at a PTA meeting and the panel was discussing San Ramon Valley, I believe it is, where the fire department and the police department had come together to come up with a different response for mental health crises. So, when a person of authority comes into a situation where someone's having a mental health crisis, especially if it's an officer with a gun, that doesn't always de-escalate the situation. And in this case, they were talking about a scenario where this person ended up becoming more out of control, and he ended up getting shot. So this advocacy in this town became centered on what's a different response. So I took that, and that was prior to me. Actually, I think that was very soon after I got elected. I hadn't been sworn in yet. And then when I had my meetings, I said, this is what I want to do. We're missing this. And we have a lot of resources in Redondo. We have our own fire department. We have our own police department. We have our own dispatch, which is actually really unique. We have Beach Cities Health District with ALCO, but none of these resources really work together on mental health. They work independently. So for me, I wanted to bring that together. And it was amazing because I found out about a conference. I had talked to our city manager, and we gathered a group. I think it was like 12 people from our city attorney's office, who, by the way, runs our homeless efforts, city attorney's office, assistant to the city manager, public works, police, fire, myself. We all went to this conference in the county about mental health. And it was incredible because we probably occupied a fifth of the whole population that was at this conference, just our Redondo representatives. So the intention was there. Our community wants this. Our staff is in on it. And I think that's how we're moving it forward. I've had continuous meetings with our local council of governments. And we dove into 4 years of data from police and fire about mental health calls. So what type of calls are coming in, who's calling, what age range, when are they coming in, and what's the reason they're calling. What we found from the data is that most of the calls that fire goes out on are housed individuals. And many of the issues, require a mental health clinician and a substance abuse counselor. That's a big deal in our community. And I know, Tanya, you're working on that as well at the county level. And so we had the data to be specific about what our community needs. And we took that out to the community, and the COG assisted with this immensely. And we got in contact with HealthNet, who is looking to fully fund a year of this program. So we're waiting for all of that to be finalized, but fingers crossed, by the end of the month, we can have that.
I'd like to ask the Councilwoman, that sounds like a popular and good idea. The implementation of that is going to look like what for our community, and how is it progressing through City Hall? How is it getting backing? Is it getting a push, or has it been a more of a chore?
Are you asking about
the program itself and what it's going to do?
So the stage we're at right now, I was tasked with getting it funded. This is all a dream unless we can pay for it. So we're so close to actually having this paid for, and engaging with staff about how it does get implemented. And what's great about this, and I was talking with an officer today, that we're looking for this to be kind of malleable, to make it work for the processes that we have already. It's supposed to be a value add, so it's going to have to change with what our needs are, as far as like who's going to dispatch out with this group, or the timing of it, who goes first, or who makes the call, is all still kind of, we're still figuring that out. We still needed the money before people wanted to have that conversation. So hopefully, my goal is that we would have this operational. I don't want to put a date on it necessarily, but I'm going to go ahead and say May.
Okay. So it's coordination between all our city agencies, and actually when you get down to the situation itself, it's who actually responds to this. And I've heard about this program in other cities, and it's usually with homeless situations and other situations like that, people with mental challenges. So and it's great. I don't know if it involves Redondo having to add officers or add some personnel on the ground, or if it's just other people getting qualified in these situations. Again, and I'm wondering, how is it was it just met with open arms at City Hall, or has it been a harder sell?
So this has not come to council yet, so we will discuss that. Soon to come on that. But what I will say for police and fire, we're still, like I said, we're working that out. What's interesting for us is that we have, like I said, we have our own dispatch. In other cities, they, like for example, Hermosa is doing a similar program with actually the same vendor that we're using.
Okay.
But they are not incorporating their fire because they have county fire.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they also have RCC. So it's a different implementation for them. For us, we control all of those pieces. So it's going to be more unique to what we need. And I think it's going to be way more direct and responsive.
It sounds like it'd also be much more seamless because all our agencies are under basically Redondo.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, well, then that begs the question. We do have people on council that do want to get rid of our fire department. So what does that look like? How does that even play a role, if at all? And where do you stand with that, if you don't mind me asking?
Yes, soon to come. So since I've been on council, the talks of exploring going to county have come up at different stages. And I have voted no because the facts that I had in front of me, the numbers don't add up. It would not save us money and it would be reduced services. So I have not seen information that is different than that. When it comes to council officially, I'll have more information, but nothing I've seen so far says anything different.
Interesting. Talk to me about Alcove really quick. What has been your experience with Alcove? I think I've told you, like, you know, my biggest concern is making sure that our youth here has the resources that they need. What are your thoughts on Alcove, and how can the city better support Beach City's health district and Alcove?
Yeah. I love Alcove. My kids aren't quite old enough to participate there. So I really look forward to the time that they are. But I think they do an amazing service to our youth. It's just a safe space.
Could you tell us that service?
Yeah. So anyone who shows up there, ages 12 to 25, can get mental health services, physical health services. Let's say, as a mother of daughters, maybe they have a question, maybe they need a pregnancy test. I don't know, but there's a safe place for those people, for them to go and get quality care and have their questions answered. And that, to me, feels super safe as a parent. So I think it's invaluable. It's long overdue, but they do more than that. I always want to point out that they do things for families. So parents, like if you're having an issue with your kid, they're acting out. I don't know if you've heard about, like, there's some e-bike gang situations happening. Parents have gone into Alcove and said, I don't know how to handle this. And they've helped them come up with a plan of how to approach the situation, and get the outcomes that they're looking for. So what a great resource for an entire family.
And it sounds like a problem that is well worth addressing, but now, was the problem something that was increasing in the last few years, or is it now just becoming recognized and addressed?
Are you talking about mental health for youth?
Among the youth, yes.
I mean, I don't know that I'm the expert in answering that question, but I think it's probably both. I think we're better at recognizing it, but I think the pandemic in the last few years has exacerbated everything. And I'm really glad that they're there.
I would say that, Paul, I'll comment on that. When I first moved here and I went to Mayor Brand after he had been in for a little while, and I had told him, I said, I see this becoming more of a problem. Actually, there was a report that came out from Beach City's health district, and it was in like the Daily News or, our little local paper or whatever. And it was talking about the mental health of our young people. So I know that Beach City's health district has this report where it talked about the anxiety level here in Beach Cities was higher than that of even a South Central and other places. So years ago, this was a problem. And when I went to him and said, hey, this is a problem, and I lived in places that have addressed this, when you're proactive, it does not, it doesn't just spiral out of control. I actually think we're in an out of control moment now. It's starting to get out of control in such that we're at the pinnacle of drug and alcohol addiction now with young people. And Beach Cities has some very high numbers when it comes to drug addiction, alcohol addiction, and mental health issues. So we were already the highest, let's say 5-6 years ago. We were the highest in the Southland. Those numbers don't get better unless you put things in place to make them better. And I don't think that we've done that. And as much as Beach Cities does, that's another reason I asked, what else do you think we can do to better support Beach City's health district, or even work together with the school district? So the city, the school district, and Beach Cities together actively to wrap our arms around our young people and do something effective that will bring those numbers down. Like I'm open to thoughts. And
well, what I will say is, so this mobile mental health response, I've been working with Beach Cities on as well. They were the ones that helped us digest all of that data. But in these conversations that we've had every month since, July, we've had different people come talk to us. And one of the people was the supervisor for our MET team. Our MET team is our mental health clinician that goes out with our police officers. Normally they're going out for homeless individuals that are having mental health crisis. But what was interesting that the supervisor for our mental health clinician that goes out with our officers said was that, would the schools be open to this mobile mental health response that we're creating? Because she's gotten a lot of complaints from parents and at the school that when they're having a crisis, that's who they're going to call. And they're responding with an officer with a gun, a bulletproof vest, and the mental health clinician is dressed similarly. And the parents don't feel comfortable with it. It doesn't de-escalate the situation. And so they want something different. And would the school district be supportive of having this team from the mobile mental health group respond? And the school district said, yes, of course we would. So then we're connecting them with Alcove, because that could be an option for their treatment. And so we are working on it.
It sounds like this is a vital and essential, service that we're going to be provided, but it sounds like it's only possible with Beach City's health district. We'd have a much tougher time trying to develop something like this if we didn't have Beach Cities.
Yes. I think they make things a lot easier.
Say that again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, say that again.
They make things a lot easier. Like I said, they jumped in, they had their interns go through the data. They've offered to have space to house this team on their campus. I'll say we could find a space. We could use staff to dig into this data, but we don't have the manpower. They're tapped as it is. So they've been essential in making this happen.
Sounds good. Did you say that San Ramon Valley, like up north, is where you guys got the idea? Because I bring a few different ideas from the Bay Area and no one wants to listen. I don't know what that's about with you LA people. Actually, you're new to the LA area, right?
No, I mean, I'm from Denver originally.
Denver.
Outside of Denver. And I moved here 15, 20 years ago. I've lost count, but I've lived all around LA. So
Do you love it? Like, do you love it? Are you one of those people that's like, oh, I'm so glad I came to LA? Or are you like, yeah, I live here, but I couldn't go
I
back.
love it. You know, I was back for a friend's 40th birthday, and her parents were there, and you know, she lives with this beautiful mountain view, the opposite. And you know, it's gorgeous. It is. And the parents were like, "Oh, where do you live?" And I said, "LA." And they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I'm like, "I love LA.
I hate people.
I love where I live. I love that you can find anything here. You can find anyone, and we're just like diversity everywhere. It's rich. I love it."
Colorado was the first place I went to that had unadulterated smoking indoors. Like one of my best friends, she got her graduate's degree out there, and we went to party, and girl, it was so much smoke, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. I'm just gonna die. You can take me back. So first time I was like, take me back to LA, like quickly. I'll take the freeway over the smoke indoors. Like, what is going on in the world?
And that's why Redondo is a blue zone area, you know, one of the few in the world. We don't
and even with blue zones, I didn't realize how big and important blue zones was until I saw it on National Geographic. I was like, oh, we are swanky.
Well, and Beach City's health district was also integral in helping us become a blue zone.
Yep. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Longer.
Yeah.
So listen, this youth council though, all right, so you breezed through it, but what does it take to get it going again? And where do we get these people? Who's involved? Like, come on, let's
so
figure it out.
The youth council is a group of 13 students. They would have to go through the regular commission application and interviews, and I would love to have like the range. So it can be anyone 13 to, I believe it's 20, maybe it's 18. I think it's 20 though, to sit on the council. So it'd be great to have a range. So we represent all different kind of groups. And then the interviews, and then the mayor will make some selections and we approve them just like all the other commissions. The commitment would be a year long, and you meet once a month. You know, and personally, I think we need a discussion about what topics they're going to discuss. For me, I want it to be something that like is interesting for them and that is tangible. Like, it's hard to say, we could talk about the AES plan, but that is so far and such a long process. It kind of loses its excitement for youth. You know, I think getting kids involved in talking about e-bikes and like, how are we going to solve this in the community? What are we going to do together? And what's your point of view? You guys are the ones riding these bikes, not solely, but we hear about it all the time, the kids on the bike. So I would love to bring them in on that. One of the funny things that I would love to have them discuss. Did you know we have a city bird?
I had no idea.
I did not know that.
And you're going to die when you hear what bird it is.
Isn't it?
It should be the bird, right? No, it is actually the Goodyear blimp.
It's our city bird. Fabulous. Okay.
Wait, what? How is that a bird?
I found out about this because a resident emailed me and asked me because the
LOL.
It was the old blimp that was retired. So is it grandfathered into the new blimp? And I was taken back. I had the city clerk help me look it up. And indeed, it is the Goodyear blimp.
You are usually so well versed on things, Paige. I can't believe they caught you off guard with that.
So, I mean, I think that's a funny one, but like, how do these things happen? We also have a city flag that has been designed by youth, but it hasn't been well received. And so it is hidden.
Wait, it hasn't been well received by who? Anybody?
I haven't met that person yet, but, you know, I should
these
put it
old
up.
decisions? Are these decisions that were made 10, 15 years ago or 20 years ago? Or Even longer.
I
The old
believe
your blimp had to be like 25 years ago.
I think the city bird, I think, was like the 80s. I will look it up.
Sounds like the 80s
Yes,
to me.
the 80s.
I was here and I watched council meetings back then. They were ridiculous.
Oh, so this isn't new.
Wait,
The
I was like,
circus isn't new.
more than now or different?
So
We had a mayor that was the youngest mayor in America, a gentleman named Brad Parton, who lived in District 2. And I should say, leading into what we were talking about, 4 of the last 5 mayors have all lived in South Redondo. 1 lived on a boat in the harbor. And the deepest we got into North Redondo was District 3 with Mike Chin. So there you have that. But we had the youngest mayor in America, Brad Parton, and he would get in screaming matches with constituents from the city. And it was just, I'd watch it for fun because they were ridiculous meetings.
I also love Mike Gin, so
I do too. I'm a fan
We're a
of
fan
Jen and his boo. Like I love Mike and his boo.
Indeed.
Hey, Paige, let me ask you real quick. What do you see? What is your vision for North Redondo Beach? What do you see actually happening while you are still here?
While I'm still here?
While you're still on council, and do you plan on going for a second term? So while I got you, I'm just all in your business.
It's funny. People ask me that, and because I'm a doula, I think my response is very appropriate. It's like asking a woman who just gave birth when they're going to have another baby.
I hate that.
I'm just saying. So it's campaigning is unlikable. It just is. So I am not thinking about that right now, and I am just focused on getting something done here. So what does North Redondo look like? I'm my park right now, like tangible things, right? Like things that I can do without getting into political mess. Like I just want to get something done. So I want Franklin Park specifically to get the love that it needs. We just had 56 units go up in our neighborhood. I want to make sure that park is pristine for these residents. Dominguez Park has been on the list forever, and there's reasons that it got delayed, but that needs to get done. Ito Family Open Space. We dedicated the park, but I don't think we're doing the family what it deserves. We need to finish that appropriately to honor the family and the history that's there.
There really is a perception, I think, of residents of North Redondo that they have been forgotten. It was mentioned at the council meeting last night, and it's been a very popular thought for a long time. They say it themselves. They're the redheaded stepchild. I know that the District 4 councilman has been waving a banner of all the changes that are in store for it, but it's taken this long, and it's taken a real change and actually some action by people like Mariam and others to activate the voters up there. Because it's been going on for a long time, and really North Redondo has been forgotten since the 90s. The evidence is there. You can just tell that it's not thriving. Hopefully that will change, and they've been working on it. But really, again, in the opportunity to focus things on North Redondo, there was a real opportunity last night, and it was skipped over by the North Redondo councilman. So it's just amazing. I understand why people feel that way. They really do feel like they're just forgotten up there.
Yeah. Well, and I don't want that to have people give up, I still have hope, and that's why I'm here. But it does take people to care and to know what's going on. So thank you for having this podcast so that we can get out some information, let people know. And I felt one of the comments last night was that, we let people know that the mayor died, and we sent out emails and some surveys, and that was enough. And I didn't feel like it was enough. So
Cece said you need to go on and have your second baby, and we'll be your doula. Okay, we'll do that. And then Pat actually had a question, which I think is I've heard a few times, which is, why was Jim Light the only person that got an interview last night? And then I don't know who Chadwick Castle is, but why didn't he get an interview? Can you answer that?
I don't know the answer to that. The way the meeting went was very fluid, and there wasn't structure to it. So Jim Light was asked to come up to answer some questions, and it did turn into kind of an interview, and things moved forward from there. So I don't have a specific. I apologize. Last night I didn't get any sleep. It was like, when you or maybe your kids do something disappointing and you just keep thinking about it all night and you don't get any sleep. So anyway, there's no specific thing that happened or process. It just moved the way it did.
Yeah, and if you watching the meeting, the city attorney Mike Webb explained that the charter is a big blank when it came to this situation. It really said they just need to fill the seat. 30 days, of vacancy, which needed to be defined. What is vacancy? Was it the moment that the mayor passed, or was it the moment that the council recognized the seat vacant? Yeah. So it was a completely open situation. And we've seen time and time again in Redondo Beach, if there aren't rules written down, there's people who will take advantage of that vacuum. And they certainly did last night. I didn't see a lot of democracy in the decision they made. I actually think a lot of the decision was already made. It was a foregone conclusion, and it didn't surprise me. But the tease of seeing that possibly could go a new direction, possibly we could have a female or somebody that's not white on the council would just be awesome, but it didn't happen. So maybe with all these charter changes that are coming, maybe we should come up with some protocols of when seats are vacant, what makes them vacant, and the moment they are vacant. So the community doesn't see something that they just can't agree with, or they see something that doesn't seem by the book, which I think a lot of people saw last night. It was a strange situation, and a decision that the last time in the recent memory, we had a vacant council seat. Well, one of them was resigned. I actually ran in an election to fill that seat, but then more recently we had a councilman resign, and they needed to appoint a new person. That took almost a month, and it was extensive interviews with people to pick the right person to fill that seat, and that ended up being Martha Barbie in District 1. So for how it kind of went, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to make it look good as best as we can in the next 30 minutes. And that's what happened. That's where we got to where we are right now.
Yeah, I think, to have clear guidelines of how to deal with situations like this really helps transparency, clarity, and just trust in the process. I'd love to refine that some more.
Yes, I think all of us would. I think all of us would love to see some more rules put into place, or even just some literally protocols. This is what happens. It is important for people to know. And 30 days could be shortened or whatever it is. We do replace presidents if they're missing or if they're out of office in a matter of hours. So it is not uncommon. It's not uncommon to appoint people in these situations. We've seen, people become senators through appointments, and which seems like just a huge undemocratic process, but it is part of what we deal with. And so, but the rules really do need to be laid out, or we end up in some pretty bad situations where, there's quid pro quo. I was kind of astounded that the councilman put some, almost preconditions on Jim Light to become mayor. He said, we don't want someone that's going to run for office. That seems insane to me. Why would you want to appoint somebody to government that you don't want them to stay in government. If you think they're good enough to take the seat now, they should be able to run for re-election. So
Well,
I
you can't hold them.
just think that's just absolutely just astounding that they would do that to anybody.
Yeah. We can't hold anyone to that. So whatever happens going forward is a constitutional right, and that's the way it goes. And I was disappointed with what happened last night, but I got a little bit of sleep.
Mariam, you were going to say something?
Yeah. Just, as an observer, as somebody who I did not watch last night, I watched it this morning on YouTube. It was disturbing because it seemed very planned to have Jim Light come speak. And then to me, it appeared like a rallying of the troops. All of the people that were part of special interest groups came and, promoted his appointment. And I feel like that was the entire process was very undemocratic. It seemed very planned. It seemed like there was a lot of Brown acting going on. And it bothers me a lot to know that was how the process went. And, we're talking about somebody who's going to be inclusive, somebody who is well-liked. I saw Jeff Ginsburg go up there and throw his name in the hat his name in there, and he would have been perfect, to be honest with you, if people were actually allowed to answer questions and go through the same type of interview process that Jim was allowed to go through. And I don't think that the group of people that promoted the Jim Light appointment are the representative people of the city. We have thousands and thousands of people that live here, the majority of which do live in the north part of the city. And it was very hyper-focused on very specialized interests. And it was just to know that to fill a council seat, there was an extensive process, and to fill the mayoral seat was not. It should bother everybody. And further, the mayor does have some power. He appoints commissioners, right? He vetoes, right? Or they veto and they appoint. And so this isn't just like some kind of whatever position. And this person that was appointed is not somebody who is well liked by everybody in the city. So I was disappointed, to say the least.
Yeah, and not to put anyone in an uncomfortable position, but there was a lot of themes. One, Jeff Ginsburg trying to be mayor, it seemed kind of ironic. He was the gentleman that resigned his council seat because he had so many conflicts of interest in the city. It seemed astounding that he tried. When it came to qualifications that were discussed, Jim said, "Hey, I've been 7 years on a commission and on the GPAC." Well, I've been on 8 years on a commission, and I was on the GPAC with Jim. So has Tanya. She's a county commissioner and have been on the GPAC. So a lot of people have filled those boxes and were qualified in that respect. And I heard discussions about, wanting to, it's one Redondo, it's not north and south, and we want a unifier. And then they end up picking one of the most polarizing people in the city, who was twice rejected by voters.
Exactly.
He's run for twice in 2005 and I think 2013, and he was rejected by voters. So it was just a really unusual pick, but again, not very surprising at all.
So Cece says, we are very unhappy that an unselected activist is our new mayor. He does not represent the city as a whole. I have my own personal biases against him, but I'll keep those to myself. He's a divider, not a unifier. All I'm saying is I know he was he tried to run a couple of times and was not elected. And from that group, that activist group, they use this phrase all the time, says the voters have already spoken, and then this is what happened. So I just think it's hilarious.
The voters did speak about Jim Light, didn't they?
They did, and then
we voted no. They voted so no.
we won't
and that was interesting because it was within his own district. It wasn't even a citywide. It was a council within his own district.
Yeah.
The voters protected him.
But these are the types of things these are the types of things, though, that I think a lot of people don't know, there are a lot of people in this city that are not from the city. So that's why it's important to continue to have these conversations, because Paul brings a lot of history, and Miriam is a resident volunteer. I am a county commissioner. We don't all agree on everything, but having the opportunity to have these conversations gives perspective. And that's really all we're here for, is to give perspective, to educate our community, and hopefully take away some of the apathy in people not voting because you don't vote because you don't know what's going on. You don't vote because you don't know what's at stake. You don't vote because you think your vote's not going to count. When you come and you get the information, at least you find out what is going on without having to watch the circus of a city council meeting. And you get people that come and speak about what they are working on. So in this case, I thought it was hugely important to have Paige, because what she is working on is very youth-centered, and it is about the mental health of our community. So when those issues do come up, if there happens to be some election type of fact that factors in, or we need to vote on something, or we need to support Beach City's health district because they are working with this, these are the conversations that need to be had. We don't all need to agree, but we definitely need to be informed. So Paige, thank you for being here and sharing what you have coming up. Obviously, if y'all out there are listening and you have youth and you think that, they will be great leaders, or they have great voices that would be able to contribute to what's going on in our city, get them involved, because the sooner they start to understand what's going on, the sooner we start bringing people up that are engaged in what's going on, and we keep good things coming to the city, because we ain't had a lot of good come in recently. And Paige, you're just a breath of fresh air.
And can I just say one last thing? So Mayor Light reached out to me, and he wants to learn more about my goals and my residents' needs in the city. And I will absolutely, take that meeting and advocate for my residents and work collaboratively, because, at the end of the day, what's done is done, and he is our mayor, and I'm going to work with it. I encourage you, maybe invite him on the show. See what he has to say.
I have no problem with that. I think it's important that we are able to have honest dialogue. So yes. Definitely an opportunity for that conversation. I will reach out myself and see how that goes. But again, thank you. And I hope that you keep us updated in the projects that you have going on, and you let us know how to support, especially with these citywide pieces. Everyone needs to know what's going on and how they can benefit from the work that you are doing. So thank you so much, Paige.
Awesome. Thank you, Karen.
Let me say, voters should vote. People need to get out and vote. Councilwoman Kaluderovic is a result of people getting involved, and brings in a whole new fresh face to the community. And now, although we have an appointed mayor, we had to treat him as an elected mayor and hold his feet to the fire and say, no, you're mayor for the entire city. You need to focus on where the needs are. And we've been neglected. The folks up in North Redondo feel like they've been neglected. And so he should be held to a higher bar. It's not just some Harbor Commission seat anymore. It's the real deal. So stay involved, keep involved, and get involved, because this is what we're seeing in Redondo. It's starting to change slowly but surely, but we got to keep up with it, and you got to keep after it, because it never ends.
Yes. Yep, absolutely. Anything before we get out of here, Mariam?
Nope. Paul said it perfectly. I agree with everything. We need to vote, and we need to hold our people that are in these seats in leadership accountable.
All right. And Cece says, bless you all. We need more leaders like you in the city. I love it. Again, thank you, Miss City Councilwoman. We appreciate your time. Know that you are busy, and we're always here to help spread the good word about the work that you are doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.